So Cordoba is just right in the center of Argentina, just the heart of Argentina. They called it when I was there, and my mission in Cordoba also covered La Rioja and Catamarca, which were a little bit north of Cordoba, northwest. And yeah, it was about 15, probably like 10 hours distance, 10, 11 hours from the top to the bottom. In bus, so I got to do that quite a bit, and yeah, it was. I think the church there is about 80 years old. I want to say in Cordoba. We met on my mission just a couple of the first pioneers of the church there in Cordoba. One of them was alive while I was there, like one of the first members, and then died while I was there, and that was kind of cool to see just how much the church had progressed from a couple of members to thousands, and it's really cool. Right now, I mean, the church is just expanding a ton. While I was in my mission, towards the end of my mission, the whole emphasis was based on baptizing families, getting priesthood holders to the men to come and for them to baptize their families, which basically gave both a lot of growth in numbers as well as in retention. So it was really cool to see that growth to the point where now the Lord has just been preparing everybody there for the temple, which is being dedicated in May 17th, I believe. So yeah. It's really neat to see that growth and how the Lord has prepared both the people and the surroundings and everything, the circumstances for that sacred house of His. So, for example, my first area that I was in for 6 months, it was a branch of about 35 people or so. By the end, there was like 120 in the same branch. My second area, there was about 5-6 people in the branch. We met in a mortuary, so that was a little bit different. And that was pretty small. And then I went to a ward in Cordoba, and it was a good 120, 150 people. Pretty big church. So downtown, like in the city, there's a lot more people, big wards, and then outer, like La Rioja, Catamarca, it's a lot more small branch-wise. So
geographically, when I arrived, the mission was Argentina Resistencia, and that was the size of the state of California. So it was a huge mission. And it bordered Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, were the 3 different countries that it bordered. And it stretched all the way from Formosa to Posadas, or to Misiones is the name of the province. And then, a year after I left, they split it right along the Paraná River. So it ended up being Chaco, Corrientes, and Formosa on one side, and then Misiones on the other side. And those are the names of the provinces, which are like the states. But geographically, it's a huge mission. And you get a whole range, like a whole spectrum of different, terrains. On the Misiones side and parts of Corrientes, it's really jungly, really tropical. And actually Corrientes, like since I've been home, I've read up a lot on what it's called, and it's technically called the South American Mesopotamian Plateau, which it's exactly what you would imagine Mesopotamia would be like. It's very dry, but there's grasslands. It's a really pretty place. And then Formosa kind of had the reputation of being very barren, very desert-like. And so that's kind of what the geography was like. The church is not super strong there. The closest temple to the mission is in Paraguay, in Asunción. So for some members, it's 15 minutes away. And for some members, it's like 8 hours away, depending on where you're coming from within the mission. The mission itself started in 1991, I believe. And before that, Elder Christofferson came to our mission when he was there. And when he was serving, and I think it was just called the Northern Argentina Mission, he served in the town of Corrientes. So the church has been there for a long time. It wasn't until the 90s that it was really able to start developing more quickly, just because there were more missionaries there. But yeah, so when I was there, there were 2 stakes in the whole mission, and everything else was just branches. branches and districts. So you were considered to be really lucky if you were put into a ward, but most of the time you were in a branch. And the church is really small. I mean, and since it is so small, there are missionaries that are branch presidents. And the biggest struggle facing the church there is getting good priesthood holders to join the church. Because, I mean, the women in Argentina, I mean, you teach them and they're very faithful and they're very believing. But the men seem to be a little harder of heart, and that's why the church has a hard time growing, because you can't become a ward or a stake without a certain amount of priesthood holders. So those were the struggles we were kind of facing. But the church has been growing a lot. I mean, between 1991 and 2012, it split into 2 missions, so there are twice as many missionaries in the area now. And the work really is progressing. In my time there, I saw it grow and become stronger, and wards split and branches split. And the splitting is good because it means that you're getting enough to really cover the area effectively.
The Buenos Aires South Mission doesn't even take in Buenos Aires, the city. So there's a province called Buenos Aires, and so in that province there's a city, and then our mission takes about like a little bit south of the city, so like the ghetto side of the city. Really, it's a pretty ghetto mission, but that's what makes it so amazing. So we have, there's a couple bigger cities, like La Plata, that's actually the capital of the province, and so that's a big city down there. But a lot of times there's the elders are in the bigger cities, and then the sisters are in the countrysides and stuff, which is way fun. So it takes in about, I couldn't tell you area wise, but it's an hour or 2 kind of from one end to the other. But then there's another area that just takes in a part of the coast. And so the coast is really far away from the whole other mission. They have to drive 3 hours. So if you're down on the coast, you never see anything until you get transferred again. So there's a whole zone down there. It's really pretty down there because they get to see the beach all the time. Mostly it's just branches down there though. But I hear the members are really amazing. I never got to serve there, but it was really pretty. I would say that in our mission, there was probably a mix of branches and wards. There were only a couple really big wards that I ever served in, because a lot of it, well, maybe the membership wise is big, but there's a lot of less actives. I would say that was a lot of our work, is just doing less active work. Finding people that had joined 10 years ago and helping them remember their testimony. So I'd say the church is still kind of young down there. The people are still learning how to do their callings and function good, and so the members are just kind of learning how to help us with missionary work. Everything's still kind of small, but it's really amazing to see how faithful they are and how much they really do love the gospel.
I originally started in the Rosario mission, which includes most of the province of Santa Fe, all the province of Entre Rios, and part of the province of Buenos Aires, just in the north. When the mission got split and the new mission Santa Fe was created, it just took about the middle part of Santa Fe, because Rosario's in the south, and so it went with the south. And then the new mission was just the middle part of Santa Fe and all of Entre Rios. And when I started my mission in Entre Rios, and then I went to Santa Fe for the middle part of my mission, and then I ended my mission in Entre Rios. And so all my mission I actually served within the boundaries of the new Santa Fe mission before it was created. As far as the city of Santa Fe goes, it's a pretty big city, not quite as big as Rosario. There's been missionaries there for about 50 years. In the city of Santa Fe, there's, I believe, about 20 wards. Some of those are branches. There's 2 stakes, the Santa Fe North stake and the Santa Fe stake. I served in both of them. Really great people in Santa Fe. There's some really poor areas, but there's also some very, very well-to-do areas. I served in probably one of the poorest areas there, and also the richest area. And so I kind of had both experiences. So in Santa Fe, it's probably 80% Catholic or more, that it's predominantly Catholic. Now we're starting to see a lot of evangelists. There's a lot of people starting to go over to the Universal Church, which is a Brazilian church that came over. But mostly Catholic. As far as people's views on missionaries go, is you'll always hear that other missionaries are spies. They came over to steal our water. They're from the United States, from the CIA. You're always going to hear that. Then there's always going to be the people that try to spread rumors about the missionaries. Say, oh, I saw a missionary going over to that club with that girl, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. But they're always trying to say that. But for the most part, they do accept the missionaries. That it's part of the culture that there's always people in the street, whether they be Jehovah's Witness or evangelists or Catholics, that are always going around knocking on doors, talking to people, and so it's something they're used to, of talking to people about religion. And there's a lot of people that get into it. There's a lot of people who don't want to talk about religion, but there's a lot of people that like it, that like to argue with you, like to Bible bash and things like that. Some very common challenges for people there is smoking. That there's a lot of people that smoke, and it's hard for some people to get over it. But if they do the basic things as far as reading their scriptures, saying their prayers, going to church, it's pretty easy to get someone to quit smoking if they're really committed to it. I had an investigator once who had been smoking for 15 years. She wasn't very old, but all her family told her that she'd never ever be able to quit smoking, and she always had the desire to quit smoking. Started meeting with us. She started doing the things she had to do, read in her scriptures every day, came to church every week, saying her prayers, doing all the little tricks there are to quit smoking, and she quit smoking. And to this day, I'm pretty sure she doesn't smoke. And that miracle in their family led to her mom getting baptized, and also her little brother getting baptized, and also her daughter getting baptized. And so, really, there's that challenge. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to quit smoking, but if they do the things that they're supposed to and they keep their commitments, then they're going to be able to overcome it. And that goes for any challenge that they might have, whether it be they're not married to the person they're living with, which is also a very common thing, that people need to get married before they can get baptized. I started my mission in Concepción del Uruguay, which is on the border of Argentina and Uruguay. Actually, now it's not part of the mission. It actually got moved over to the Uruguay mission. But I started there. I was there for about 5 months, and then I went to Santa Fe in the north. I was in an area called Recreo. I was there for about 6 months. Then I moved just a little bit to the south in an area called Ayacucho, also in the North Stake. I was there for about 4 months, and then I went to Costanera, which is one of the richer areas of Santa Fe in the south, right on the beach. And I was there for about 4 months, and then I went back to Entre Rios, and I ended my mission in an area called La Paz.
So the Neokin mission, one of the first coolest things you notice about it is it's a palindrome, Neokin, so that's pretty cool. And the mission, it was medium sized before. Now they split it, so it's a little smaller. But it was pretty good size before. I only served in 3 areas, but there's quite a few areas for sisters and elders to serve in. Temples, there's only one temple in Buenos Aires. They're building one right now in Cordoba. I'm not sure if it's finished yet or not. But most of the members in the Neokin mission go to the Buenos Aires mission whenever they go to the temple. That's about 18 hours on a bus, depending on where they are in the mission. But it was a real sacrifice and struggle for the members to get to the temple. And that was one of the things that strengthened all of our testimonies as missionaries, just because of the travel and the sacrifices that needed to be made to get there. And being here in Provo, after your mission, definitely puts things into perspective. How you can just walk or drive 5 minutes to the temple, and so that was one of the big differences there. There's quite a few wards, but there's also still some branches there. Not all of them have developed into wards yet. And then even the wards, the ones that are called wards, are still very, very small. Sometimes there's only about 12 people that go, so it's a branch, but they still meet in a ward building. That's a little difficult too. There's also sometimes in wards you'll find that there's not very many priesthood holders. Sometimes there's just enough, but it's amazing to see the ones that do go and the ones that are diligent in the city.